Hey everybody, my name is Curt Conrad, and you're listening to West Fourth and Goal, a podcast devoted to high school sports fans in North Central Ohio. We're coming to you from the IdeaWorks podcast studio on West 4th Street in downtown Mansfield. In addition to this state-of-the-art studio, IdeaWorks is home to several small businesses, including Richland Source. If you're an entrepreneur and looking for a workspace and other like-minded individuals to collaborate with, visit IdeaWorksOhio.com and schedule a tour. That's IdeaWorks, where plans come together. I'm joined in studio by co-host, former Mansfield Senior basketball coach and documentary filmmaker Effie James. And Effie, I think for the first time all year, it kind of feels like winter outside. We were just talking about it. It's not awesome out there. I'm a trail runner, and a buddy of mine ran 12 miles in Mohican on Sunday, and we did it in shorts. But I think it's no longer short season out there.
No matter how long you lived here, it always sneaks up on you, man.
Right
always.
on. And while the weather, it's kind of cold out there, the action in gyms is heating up all across North Central Ohio. I think the biggest game of the week and probably of the season so far is Friday night when Mansfield Senior visits Lexington. An Ohio Cardinal Conference showdown. Tigers sit atop the OCC standings at 5-0 and have won 9 straight. Lex is tied for second with Worcester at 3-1 in the OCC, and Minutemen have won 4 straight and 7-8. And I've been kind of looking forward to tonight's guest since the football season. He's the quarterback of the Mansfield Senior football team and a pretty darn good basketball player too. It's junior Cam Todd. And Cam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, absolutely, and we'll just dive right into it here. We're thrilled to death to have you come down, but like I said, the quarterback of the football team and a basketball player. Which is it? Are you a football player first or a basketball player first?
Yeah, I'm definitely a football player at heart. Basketball to me is more of a way to interact and reach other people. Like, it's obviously fun to stay in shape, obviously, for football. I also play basketball for my good friend who passed away. That was one way we interact before he was left. We grew up playing basketball together all the time, and that was always a dream of him, was because he didn't play football with me, but it was always just fun to how we interacted, so I do it for him also, so that's also fun.
And Coach, I would imagine that's got to be music to your ears, a football player and a basketball player.
Oh, sure. Basketball has always been, and most kids, and that's why I appreciate Cam, is because most kids have it reversed, and everybody feels like they're a basketball star, as I did. And even though reality is the majority of people should be or are football players. And, the hoop dream kind of takes over. But it's great to see a guy who is two sports and really is a team guy, and that's what I can appreciate about his game.
And if you can probably speak to it too, but I mean, are there things that translate from the football field to the basketball court and vice versa?
Yeah, definitely. Always there's this sense of leadership that I feel obligated to have is always just pull together our guys, because it's always nice to have a positive energy no matter where you are, whether that's on the court or in school. You can always bring that, and more of like just the teamwork perspective and how it carries over into life and beyond sports, then that's always there for you no matter what sport you play. So that's the main emphasis I look on when I play football and basketball. Yeah.
Right, and I mean, a leader is a leader, whether it's on Friday nights in the fall or Friday and Saturday in the winter, I would think.
Yeah, I think so, and you don't take that leadership hat off. And one of the things I always told kids and recognized about players is, like, leadership and heart and work ethic are two things you can't turn on and off. So either, if you're a person who works hard, it's not like, well, I only work hard in this area of my life. Or either you work hard or you don't. You get good grades, you work hard in sports, or you're not. So it's great to see when when you are a natural leader or you become a leader, that's always going to translate from sport to sport.
Right. Cam, I think the first time I remember you playing, it was when you were still at Ontario, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But and actually, it was a basketball game. It wasn't a football game, and it was at Mansfield Senior of all places. And your brother Jackson came over here and torched the Tigers for 35 points in triple overtime. What do you remember about that night?
All I remember was the energy was crazy. Like, you grew up hearing about just how Tiger basketball always was and how they played, and then the original, like, Ontario was getting up there in the top rankings. We're like, well, why don't we bring those two neighboring, like, together? And I think it was the second year we played, maybe, because my 8th grade year was the buzzer beater, another crazy ending.
Right.
And I just remember being in there with my brother, like, that's an experience I'll never forget. And he just, like, nothing but encouraging words as me, as I, like, had no idea what was going on, and because the energy was completely different from middle school basketball.
Right.
And just the, like, everyone there and, like, how they all came together, like, the two towns of rivalry just showed the love for basketball that they had for their kids.
And when you were coaching, you guys, Ontario was never on the schedule for whatever the reason, but is that something you would have liked to see?
You know, I always think in terms of the fans, they love it, and I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna have an honest moment here for the fans. As a fan now, I love to see local teams get together when Ontario plays Mansfield and Shelby and Lexington and all those teams. But as a coach, I always was like, I always leery of the local games. Like, even though it was great for the fans to see, you know, our kids for some reason had that mantra in their head, like, you know, if we play Ontario, if we play Crestline, for instance, or whatever the local school was, that, you know, for some reason they didn't have to play as hard and they didn't have to give it all they had. Well, we've started to see here lately that since those rivalries have been, you know, reignited, that rivalries mean a lot, and local schools playing each other are good for everybody.
Right.
And as a coach, that always made me leery, because I never knew how my teams were going to approach the game.
Sure.
And I always wanted them to, I'd rather play a team from Northwest Toledo that they never heard of before.
Sure.
And that at least they've have a little bit of angst about the game.
Cam, I mean, you had that 1 year playing with your older brother. Just, I mean, what was that experience like? I mean, I would imagine that's got to be a pretty neat thing.
Yeah, I've been asked about that question actually a few times, and it's just completely different. You growing up with him from your little hoop that you got for Christmas, and then outdoors in the snow, and then in the summer, and then the neighbors come over, and then your brother has a birthday party, and you're playing with all them. Well, flash forward now to 4 years later, when your brother's friends and your brother are actually your teammate, and you're going against not the neighbors from across down the road, but you're going against your rival school, or like how it was for us, like my cousin Traven on the Lexington team, like when we actually played against him and his school, like, and just us coming together, like, this is all right. Like, all those no out of bounds rules, like, no, this is legit. Like, this is where it comes to play. And it was just a blast, like, being competitive with them, like, because it's a nature that you grew up with, always trying to be compete with the older like people and teammates. Yeah.
Right. And we talked just briefly about it. I talked to Joe Baylog about Jackson a few years ago, and Joe raved about Jackson. He said he was one of the hardest workers he's ever had. I mean, what did you learn from him, I guess? I mean, is there does he have advice for you? I mean, just watching him play, the things you learned from him?
What I learned from Jackson Moth is probably lead by example. Is he doesn't say much at all. I don't know how. He's the opposite from everyone else in our family, but he doesn't really talk. But what I learned from him was that, like, if you focus on something and you just dedicate, because he wanted basketball more than anything else, and from how he won most improved player from sophomore to junior to senior year, just as he improved in those two strongest years like that you could have, is just, he showed me that no matter what I do, no matter what sport it is, that if I just honestly just go for it with everything I got and everything I want, and I truly want it, there's no way I can't get it.
And it's paid off for him, and we were talking earlier. He's playing at the college level now.
Yeah, yes, he's playing at the college level. I mean, he's not living the big D1 dream sport, but I mean, if you're playing the game you love, no matter where you are, that's all that really matters.
Right. And we talked a little bit about here in passing, but you went to Ontario your freshman and sophomore years.
Yeah.
You transferred to senior high this year. Just take us through that decision and how you arrived at it.
That decision was actually my dad's been messing around, and like all the grosses and older coaches have been messing around that ever since we played senior high in like fourth grade. It's always, when you coming down to senior high to play, or when you coming down to play some ball, throw some passes, because I grew up playing Mansfield youth sports. Like, that's how I got introduced to sports, was through Mansfield. And it came down to it was after I got my injury, it gave me a lot of time to reflect on everything. I mean, I was going home with 5 hours of nothing to do but homework, because I'm not going to practice or therapies tomorrow, so I'm literally just in reflect on everything. It brought me to attention of schoolwork and where I want to go, and obviously high school hit me fast. So like, what do I want to do? And I wanted a chance to show how I can compete, and I wanted to prove that like compete at a higher level, or I wanted to see just where my talents could take me and where I rate among like the top athletes, because I felt like that I could compete with them. So I just wanted to give myself that chance and opportunity to do that.
Sure. And I think this is kind of lends itself to a broader conversation about about kids and transfer. I mean, I have a son who goes to Spanish immersion school, and he has classmates from several different school districts all over the place, and those parents. In talking to those parents, they send their kids to Spanish immersion because that's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
And they want to give their child the best opportunity.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if there's a wall between athletics and academics in that situation. I mean, kids want a better opportunity, and then parents want a better opportunity for their children.
Well, and I think Cam really explained it right, because Coach Bradley has done an outstanding job. Number one of promoting his program along with his players, and I think because of that, he has built a winning tradition at senior high against top tier competition, and he has been a playoff contender year in and year out. And if I'm a kid like Cam Todd or other kids in local schools who feel like I'd like to seize that opportunity. I want to, see if I can play at the highest level. It's no more different than a young man going on to college and they have their choice. They got a Division II scholarship available or Division I. Now, in their eyes, they may think, I probably could play right away Division II, but boy, I'd like to give it a shot at Division I to give myself a chance to prove that I can compete at the highest level. And I think Mansfield Senior, amongst other schools, has really done a good job. Coach Bradley specifically has done a great job of promoting his program to a place where, kids want to come. The kids that are at senior high want to come, but also kids that just want to be a part of a successful program. And also with a tradition of moving kids on to the next level, which they've done a great job of also.
And this is certainly not a 2019 issue. I mean, this has been going on for a long, long time. I remember, not so long ago, there were some senior high kids who transferred to Lexington to play down there. I mean, it's something that's been going on probably even back in your day.
Yeah, we've had times where guys just went to different schools for different reasons. It's a completely personal decision, and every single choice came down to it was probably different for everyone. But I think when it comes down to it, most kids want to challenge themselves, and most parents want to challenge their kids. And even if it's for academic reasons, I think a couple of those situations might have been for academic reasons. Sure. They wanted to challenge their kids academically, not just athletically. And because of that, those play a part in a lot of decisions that people make.
Right. So. If you've ever tried to read the OHSAA bylaws about transferring, it is it'll make your head spin. I mean, is it almost a no-win situation for the OHSAA? I mean, how do you police that sort of stuff?
Well, what you have to do is you can't really police it. You've got to take each case by case, right. and you really have to. I don't think they can do it soundly because they don't have the staff. They've got to dig into each situation and really get the crux of what the family really wants. Because I think there are some certain situations where, it should be disallowed, and there are some situations where I get that,
right.
And I think that education, athletics. This day and age, athletics bring about so many different changes in a young man or woman's life.
Sure.
Myself personally, athletics has opened up every opportunity just about I've ever had in my life have come because I was a high school athlete.
Right.
And, so I never, I can't downplay the effect that athletics has on a young person's life. So if they want to challenge themselves to play at a different level or higher level, I think we got to give them every opportunity to do that within the realm of competitive balance and fairness.
Right. Cam, you had to sit out the first 5 games during the football season, so that means I think you must have completed the transfer before May 16th of last year.
Yeah. Literally, like it had to have been like 2 weeks before it got signed over.
Because what happens now, the OHS, well, I guess it was voted on by the member school principals, but if you transferred after that date, you have to sit out the second half of the season, plus all the postseason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do you think they're doing the right thing there? I mean,
well, I think what it comes down to, people were I think they got tired of watching a kid transfer in and lead the team to the state finals or the state tournaments. And I think really that's what it was more about, was the effect on state championships and postseason runs and changing the whole trajectory of a sports season based on one or two transfers. I mean, I can see how they came up with that, but again, you can't. You know what I mean? They're throwing shots in the dark,
right,
trying to figure out how to get it right. But the best thing that they can try to do is evaluate each situation personally, and they honestly, they can't have the staff to do it that way. So they've got to try to regulate it. But at the end of the day, my suggestion to young people and families is to make the decision right for your child, not necessarily based on who you want them to be or what you want them to be, but based on how it can better them in their future. And I think if you do that, you can't go wrong.
Right. So, Cam, you're on a basketball team. I mean, you're from Ontario. Tavion Harris also came over from Ontario. I think Dazion
Taylor, yeah.
He was at Madison. That's a lot of different pieces coming into a talented program already. I mean, how were you guys received by the guys who were already here? I mean, for you, I guess, for you and Tavion especially, I mean, you were football players with a lot of these guys too. So.
Oh, yeah, but that's a story that goes way back to when we all played together and had to have been 3rd, 4th grade when AAU basketball was introduced to, probably say, most of us. Like, that bunch right there, every single one on that team, I grew up playing basketball with. Right. Like, when I started basketball, that was them. I wouldn't say we were as tight as we are now, but, like, we knew each other. We knew how each other played in different schools. Didn't really, like, determine, like, like, our effect on each other's friendships. But we still, like, it was like, okay, like, it's different. Like, it's different when you see them every day and when you're with them every day. Just playing with them since, like, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, and then leaving for a while, that little gap, obviously it had somewhat of an impact. But, I mean, once you get in there, it's like just like riding a bike. Like, you're just like, this is how it started in the first place, so this is how it should end. Like,
and you and Dazion you guys both started all 10 games. Was there ever any animosity, I guess, with anyone? I mean, everyone was okay with the role that they had?
We want to win, and I think Coach Sykes makes that very clear, is we want to win no matter how that is, no matter how that win is. And if he wants to switch up the starting lineup because I'm not playing my best or so-and-so's not playing their best, so we're going to try this. And you know what? If that gets us to win, then that's what we're going to stay with. So I think we found something that's not working too bad, obviously. Looking at our record, hopefully we can just, stick with it. But we just want to win, and we're all competitors. So that's basically the only thing that gets brought up in practice is just like we just go at each other, which it makes us better in the long run.
I was going to say it must be pretty interesting in the practice practices, you guys getting after each other like that.
I was going to ask Cam, how was you're obviously a natural leader, and you have a big personality when it comes to the sidelines in sports and football and basketball. I want to ask how was your leadership style accepted or recepted when you came over to senior high?
I definitely had to take a few steps back. If it wasn't for Choke and Coach Bradley, Coach Adams, and like all our great coaches on the football staff, like I probably wouldn't have done maybe near as much as what I did, because I didn't want to step on anyone's shoes, and I didn't want to walk in to be that one arrogant kid or that one kid who's just going to come in and run school. We all know that one kid who's like that, or it could be in your job or whatever. That one man or woman who does that. And I just was going to go in. I was just going to feel where I was, and then just started to lead here and there. And then when people start listening, I was like, all right, well, it's time to pick it up. And then once I say like secure, like not like secure spot on the team, but like everyone knows where you are and where you stand, you can just take off from there. And that took me a while to get there because I didn't really say much. I was just like, all right, well, I'm just trying to get the feel for it now, because the last thing I want to do is make it worse. Sure. Like, I just don't want to like go in the wrong. I don't want to go in the wrong direction. I just want to leave. We're trying to get better from here, not get worse. So definitely finding that group, Effie, was like really hard. But once I did, it was just what I've been doing my whole life, just trying to involve people and just trying to lead the way I can, not to the point where it's annoying, but just to help everyone out.
We talked a little bit about it. I mean, you're playing for Marquise Sykes now, who was a Mansfield Senior great. Before that, you played for Joe Baylog, who is probably going to find himself in the Basketball Coaches Association Hall of Fame as soon as the court out at Ontario has his name on it, so that tells you everything you need to know. I mean, what are the differences, I guess, between those coaches? I mean, Joe has always been kind of an old school guy. At least he appeared that to me. I mean, everything's very structured and regimented. Are there differences between the coaching?
Yeah, there's a great. I wouldn't say like extreme differences, but there definitely is. I'd probably just say Coach B has more of a military-style run practice. Nothing against senior high practices, like they're not just lackadaisical or whatnot, but Coach B has everything down to the wire from the minute we step on the court to our 2-minute water break to what drill we're doing next. He has everything on that paper, that script of his, and no one's allowed to see it, so you never know what's going to hit you. But, I mean, I wouldn't say, like, Coach Sykes practices, like, he'll be like, like, what drill, like, do we need? What do we need to work on? Like, more off the top, which, I mean, I think depends on who you are and the type of style that we play. Obviously, if you look at Ontario basketball and senior high basketball, especially for me and playing in both, there's extremely different styles of basketball there. Just whether, Coach B has, like, more sets and slow down and play at, like, we can play at this pace this game, that pace next game. And senior high, it's like we play fast, and if that team's playing fast, we play faster than them.
Right.
And it's definitely fun. It challenges you as an athlete. I love it personally, but there's no knock against those coaches. I mean, those coaches are obviously two great men that I'll remember for the rest of my life and have a huge impact on the young man I'm becoming. So yeah.
And you were an assistant for a coach who was a pretty darn good one too. I mean, well. Greg Collins is who I'm talking about, who won state championships at Lexington and took senior high to a couple Final Fours. I mean, what sort of style did he have? And then did you kind of bring some of that to you when you were coaching?
It's amazing because you bring, coaching under Greg. I felt like I had to maximize a lot like how he's talking about Coach Baylog. You have to maximize the time because you always feel like as a coach you never get a chance to work on enough, and the more organized you are, you feel like the better you're going to maximize your time and get the kids the work that they need. Now, I was just at senior high's practice the other day, and the one thing I really love about the way Marquise runs his practice, everything they do, they practice so hard. So when I watch him play a game, it's amazing because I'm thinking their games mirror practices,
right,
and how the game changes, ebbs and flows of the game. They're always prepared, and that's why, come third, fourth quarter, they start to stretch people out because they practice hard, and they have so many guys that can play. By the fourth quarter, most teams have worn out, and they're still rolling, and I really appreciate how hard they practice. And when you practice that hard, it's no more different in a game where some teams will run 10, 12 scripted plays,
right,
and execute them perfectly. But other teams will run no plays, but they're playing harder than the other team, and give me the team that's going to play harder.
Right.
And I think that's what's happening at Mansfield Senior, and Coach Sykes deserves a lot of credit for the culture of hard work he's developed amongst his team this year.
And Cam, F and I talked about it last week. I mean, you guys are 14 deep. I mean, you guys can play all 14 guys on the roster. And he and I were talking. I mean, at some point you got to shorten the bench when you get toward the playoffs. I mean, but I think we can all agree that's a good problem to have, right? I mean, it's good to have that many guys who can go.
Yeah. That well, Coach Sykes made it clear to us. I want to say, first week of the season, he was like, the 14 guys on the team, if we were to take 7 and scramble them up in any order and make our own, our 7 could go compete, if not start on any other team in the area, which is like, we took that as like, okay, like we know we can play, but like we have to show it now. Like we have to turn it up on the court. We have to go play how we know we can play. We know we're talented, but we can't just let talent just be what the base is. Like, we can't get sloppy on all the fundamentals because that's really what adds up and kills you at the end. Is so like we have to use that talent and build off of that, because if we if we play basketball how we know we can play, and we just all play together, which is something we're still struggling with. We're still struggling how to play together, how to start games off fast. Where sometimes we have brain functions with our plays, but all our players on our team, we all compete with each other, because any given spot you can lose, any given day you can lose your spot. And we know that, so I think that's like an edge that we need. So all of us help each other just in general, because we're going to need everyone. We're going to need everyone on that team, no matter if you play 4 seconds or the entire game. We're going to need everyone on that team to make the run we believe we can make in the playoffs.
Right. And I was looking at the stats that Zach Massis sends out, and he's the best
Absolutely.
Basketball
Hands down.
operations guy in the area as far as I'm
down.
concerned. But I mean, I think you started all 10 games. You're one of 3 guys. I think there's only one guy. I think Quan Hillary's played a few more minutes than you, but you average more minutes than just about everyone else. I mean, are you getting more comfortable in your role, and has it kind of evolved since the start of the season?
Oh yeah, like I said, just like how it was in football, and I didn't know having a year off from basketball from my sophomore year out of Terra, I didn't play at all. I didn't play one single game of basketball because I broke my ankle. So that year layoff definitely came into effect when it came into conditioning-wise to dribbling-wise. It's all muscle memory that I had to tweak here and there. And then going into tryouts, I figured, like, I was just like, all right, like, JV, I'll swing. Like, I'm like, dude, he has to swing me. Like, I'm good enough to play varsity a little bit. And then when he told me that lineup, and I was like, wait, what? He was like, you do all the little things correctly. I was like, well, that's from what I learned from Biddy basketball camps. I was like, I'm literally just doing, besides all the shot making, I'm just boxing out. I'm letting people know when help defense is, where help defense is. And I think that shows because, I mean, my stats don't blow you out the water. I don't really average that many points, but I mean, I get rebounds and I take pride in my defense, which is something that I've really banked on. The only reason I got a spot in recess basketball really was only because of my defense. So, yeah, I like my style of play. I mean, obviously you want to increase in every category of basketball. You want to become a better shooter, a better defender. You can always get better no matter what you do. So, but I feel like I'm finding my role. There's still some like hitches here, but I feel like, I'm finding my role on the team pretty well.
Now, he's 3 points and 3 rebounds a game about is what I'm looking at. But I mean, he's one of those guys, and every coach has to have a guy who does all the little things, right?
I'm telling you, Curt, and I think I've talked to you about this before. Minutes and the issuing of minutes, and especially when it gets down to later in the season and especially in tournament time, it's about who do I trust as a coach. It's really, talent plays a big part in it, of course, but it's more about who do I trust to function offensively, to work hard defensively, to execute what we're trying to do. Who do I trust? And if I'm telling you, if more kids really bought into the fact that if coach can trust me to execute this play, to play this type of defense, to box out every time, to work my butt off every single time I'm on the court, I'm going to see more minutes. I could be an average player or a great player. And I gave one of the players I used to coach, I was talking to him, I said, look at the Cleveland Cavaliers a couple years ago, and Tristan Thompson and Dellavedova signed new contracts. And I'm thinking to myself, here's a guy who signs almost a max deal, $88 million, who can't make free throws regularly, barely can score in the post.
Right.
And another guy who's a guard who's an average at best ball handler and an average at best shooter, but the coach trusts them. And because of that, they sign contracts. They're going to be on a roster for as long as they want to be because they work hard and they execute. And if a coach trusts you, that means everything when it comes to minutes. Talent is big, but your coach has got to trust you, and I think that's what Marquise has for Cam.
Yeah. I mean, and if you watch senior high play, I mean, he might not score a ton of points, Cam, but I mean, his fingerprints are all over those games.
Sure.
And that's every bit as important, I would imagine, as someone who goes out and scores 20 points a night.
Absolutely. I've always had those guys on the team that usually they think the game cerebrally, and you need those guys on the court because for every guy that you have like that, you might have a couple guys that can easily lose focus in the game. So you got to have a guy who's going to be locked in cerebrally on the court that's going to help get the team organized when they need it. Another coach on the floor. You can never have too many of those guys.
Right. You guys have won 9 in a row. But let's go back to game 1 of the season.
Oh yeah, let's go back that one. Yeah.
You guys play Dublin Kaufman. What was it? 23-22 at halftime, and you guys lose that game by 40 points.
Yeah, we do.
What transpired in the second half of that game? And I'm more interested in what practice was like that next day.
I tell you what, I'm looking back at it. I'm glad it happened because we just got comfortable in playing sports. No matter what sport you do, if you're playing hard and you're going out, it should never be comfortable to you. Like, you should always be out of your comfort zone going as hard as you can. And we didn't put together our best first half, but little do we know that they didn't put together their best first half either. We thought, we got him here. Like, we just got to come out, we got to come out, make shots. We got to hit them the same way we did in the first half. And they smacked us in the mouth. And I'm telling you, we needed it. We needed it so bad. And I'm telling you, but the good thing is if that 40-point loss didn't happen, I do not think our record would be what it is right now at all. At all. That loss, the way that they picked up their intensity and, like, you hear it from the people, you hear it from the students that talk smack in the restroom or at lunch. Like, you just hear it like, oh, what happened at the game, and you don't like hearing that as a player. So like, you obviously want to change that around and turn it around. But like I said, if it wasn't for that loss, we wouldn't be where we are and where we're headed to right now. This season is going.
And I don't think Kaufman's lost since. And
No.
Kaufman has a Dom Penn, who's Scooney Penn's son, who is the former point guard at Ohio State. I think he had 36 that night.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no. I mean, getting beat by 40, no one likes that. But there's no shame in losing to that team because they are playing real well.
I told Marquise after that game, I thought it was a scheduling mistake on his part. I said, and those are the teams certainly that we want to play. That is not the team we want to play game one. And, because Dublin Coughlin is, traditionally they're going to be a solid school. They're a suburban area school. They're going to, be in more mid-season form, whereas we're a group, especially the group we have this year, all coming together, all different types of guys. We're going to need some time to gel. And people used to give me a bunch of flack for playing some inner city schools that struggled early in the season. I said, if you look at Duke's schedule, if you look at North Carolina's schedule, they play teams that's got 3 different directions in their name. And that's not because, they don't want to play the best. It's because, listen, I've got to figure out, and Coach Sykes, they had to figure out, who do I have, who can play and who can't. But now I guarantee you, at this point in the game, I think this point in the season, that would be a different game.
Right.
But I do also agree with Cam that they needed that. They wouldn't be where they are right now without that.
And you guys got a real big one coming up on Friday at Lexington. I tell you what, let's take a real quick break, and we'll come back and we'll break that one down, and then go around the area and see who's playing what and who's doing well. And stick around. We'll be right back. You're listening to West 4th and Goal. Welcome back to West 4th and Goal, a podcast devoted to high school sports fans in North Central Ohio. I'm Curt Conrad alongside co-host Effie James, and we are joined in the studio by Mansfield Senior's Cam Todd. And Cam, before the break, we mentioned that the Tigers had a real big one coming up on Friday night, and Lexington has won 7 of 8 and trails Senior High by 1 game in the OCC standings. Without giving away too much of the game plan, what do you guys got to do well on Friday to come back up into town with a win?
Well, we gotta start the first half with actually playing hard, because we seem to struggle doing that no matter what team we play. We just always find ourselves, I don't know what, and it must be in practice too, because Coach tells us all the time, like, we hit the gear too late in practice. Well, obviously it translates over into games when we hit the gear. We can't hit the gear with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. But obviously a fast start is what we want to jump out to. And another problem that I saw in our team is I think it gets to the point where we're out of control a little bit because we're trying to do too much. Like, the beginning of the game's not going to be most games you watch isn't just some intense game, just 3-ball after 3-ball or slam dunk, or like you got to work your way into the game like how you would work your way into anything else. And since we're so used to playing fast, I think we just try to rush ourselves. So to be honest, a quick start to this game is just all we need, and that would be obviously it won't be smooth sailing because you're away at Lex. I mean, the crowd there is amazing, the student section's amazing, the atmosphere there is really something special if you go to a game there. But you want to try to get a quick start if you can, and just hopefully just sail from there, because you just need to. If there's no start, then there's basically no chance of you catching up if you get down at Lex.
Right, F. I mean, you were an assistant on some real good teams. You were the head coach of some real good teams. It's probably no fun going down the hill and playing in Lexington, is it?
Never. It never has been. I don't care what their talent level is. Partly because, like Cam said, the atmosphere is different, and they're always going to be prepared. And this year is no different. Coach Hamilton and his staff are always going to be prepared. And I think, one of the things that Mansfield Senior is going to have to do going in, other than starting well, is make sure that they understand that this is going to be a 4-quarter game, and it will not be won in 1 quarter or even 2. They've got to play their style of basketball for 4 quarters. Now, their advantage is they have, I believe, the depth and athleticism to impose their will on the game. The disadvantage could be if Lex decides or is able to impose their will on the game, which is going to be, pound the ball inside and play a little bit more structured and get the tempo where they want the game.
Right.
That's going to be to our detriment. So it's really going to be a battle of who's going to execute their game plan the best, and it's going to be a great game. I definitely am not going to miss it. It's going to be a great game.
Right. And you and I talked about this last week. There's probably no issue getting excited about tomorrow's game from a player standpoint.
Yeah.
There's no problems with motivation.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the time of year, and Cam, you can talk to us a little bit about it. It's right in the middle of the season. It's the grind. Is it hard for you guys to get motivated and practice every day? Is it tough to get up?
If it's tough for you to get up, and Coach Sykes definitely stresses to us, if you can't find motivation and you can't find the will to get up and go to school, show up to class, and the 2-hour grind, 2.5-hour grind after that, you shouldn't be playing the sport. So, this is what I knew I was signing up for, and it's all fun to me. I play the sport for fun. At the end of the day, I'm not going to play it for the rest of my life. But this is, maybe it's just me, but this is exciting for me. I love the grind. I love when work hits me. I don't like easy tasks. I like chasing, what I want. And I'm excited for it for sure. No matter who we play, we could play West Holmes tomorrow again, but I'm ready for whoever we play. It's just that the stakes of this game, obviously, there's always this rivalry with Lexington. There's always this thing with Lexington that something has to do with it. That will be the one game that everyone knows about. I'm talking the people in Columbus, the people in Colonel Crawford. Oh, they don't really care about season. But how'd you do against Lex? So
right.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, we're doing pretty good. Actually, we haven't played them yet, but let us know when you do. Oh, okay. But obviously, this is the game where the motivation's not hard to find. There is those games, and it could be near the end of the season, just before a tournament, where it's all right, well, what do we do now? We could have our spot secured, or what are we playing for with that seed to get a good place in the bracket? But we're just playing right now. Games like this is what you live for and have fun for. You just have fun with your boys out there playing.
Do you have any advice for Marquise F? To keep kids motivated?
Well, the motivation has to come, and the advantage that Marquise and his staff have is the fact that there's so many playable pieces
right.
on that team, and I think Marquise has done a great job of really. He has watching the games that I've seen, he has no hesitation in putting in any one of those guys on the floor, and one of the things that as a coach one of the biggest complaints that parents have when they complain about playing time is why don't you just give my son a chance? And my thing was, look, I see your son every day in practice. I know what it's going to look like
right.
out there. But in some certain situations, Marquise is in a position where, this might be this guy's night.
Right.
And he literally can do that. And one of the things that can keep them focused and keeps each player focused, you could be pulled out and may not get back in for another quarter or two, and that keeps you playing hard. And I think that's going to be a benefit to them and playing a game that really means a lot. This is really their first time this season playing a game that has really big repercussions on the conference race. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Tigers respond.
Right. Another big one in the OCC, Worcester is at Ashland. Worcester's 4-4. They're tied with Lex, 3-1 in conference. Ashland's 3-2. They've already won more games this year than they did all of last year. They got some guys who can score. That's another game with a lot of implications in terms of what's going to transpire here in the last month of the season.
Yeah, things are going to shake up, and I think with Mansfield Senior being in the driver's seat, they right now control their own destiny. But what we've learned in the conference over the years is that this second part of the season has changed in so many different years that we've seen. It's really, a couple teams get better, a couple teams start to digress, and before you know it, you got a 3 or 4 team race for the championship. So I don't expect anything different. I'm as a Tiger, I'm hoping that the Tigers can hold form and keep playing well. But I know this conference is going to be competitive, whether it's Ashland, Worcester, even Mount Vernon has played well, and of course Lexington.
Yeah, Mount Vernon is at Madison. Mount Vernon's 2-3 in conference. You guys went down there last week? That's a tough place to play. That's probably your first time through, but that place. That's another place where there is a distinct home court advantage.
It's you definitely, and the tone was set early. I'm talking freshman game. I've never seen the student section there for freshman game, but they were there. They were ready. They came out with the chants at warm-up of the JV game, which I usually don't see, which was pretty different for me. But you could tell, I mean, that's what they live for, too. I mean, it's awesome actually to see the support they have from their other students. And the gym, and it helps that the gym's more compact, so everything echoes, everything's louder, and the energy get real high, real sweaty. I don't know, get tired, fatigue. Obviously, you need the water on the sidelines here and there sometimes. But it was my first time ever playing them in football, but that was at home, and their student section still traveled well, and they weren't the best team either. So that's how I knew, well, they're down for their school no matter what. So, but that was definitely exciting. I'm looking forward to playing them again at home. Yeah.
And if you probably never coached down there, did you? But I mean, that's one of those gyms. It's like one of those old school. There's, I mean, it's everything's real compact. It's kind of like the old Pete Henry gym.
It is different, man. And your players, it's an adjustment period when you get used to it. And these kids are spoiled, for lack of a better word, these days, because they get the regulation size gym, and for years, gyms weren't like that.
Right.
They were put in at a time where, hey, gym was for PE.
Right.
And you just happen to have games in there. So, now gyms are made for competition, but those gyms have they give a distinct advantage to the home team. And I think Mount Vernon really does a great job of taking advantage of that.
I would imagine the old Pete Henry gym was the greatest home field advantage of all time.
There's no way the gym was – first of all, it wasn't regulation. No. It wasn't a regulation-sized gym.
It was always dark and scary.
The lighting was off. The lighting was – now looking at it, and when we walked into the new gym, I'll never forget the first time I walked into the new Pete Henry, and it was like, some of us older school guys like, man, could you guys turn the lights down? How are we going to be able to see with all this? It's like the sun is in here, But it was an adjustment, and that had to do with the distinct advantage that Pete Henry gave us.
I think there were spots at Pete Henry where you'd dribble the ball and it wouldn't come back up to you. It was dead spot. It would just stay down there.
We knew all those spots. That was the home court advantage. Yeah.
Right. How about the MOAC? There's some local schools in the Mid-Ohio. Clear Fork is one of them, and they're a pretty darn good team. They are 9-2 overall. They lead the MOAC at 6-0. They're at Marion Harding, who's 4-2 in conference. That seems to me like it could potentially be a pretty exciting game.
It could, and I think that Marion Harding again is tradition. One of those tradition-rich schools that always has competitive athletics, and of course, and we talked about Clear Fork's great tradition and how they've become more and more competitive to the point where they are, I wouldn't say dominating that league, but they win the bulk of their games in that league now. So, it's great to see competitive basketball, in the MOAC, and Marion Harding has a long-standing tradition with this area sports anyway. Right. So to see them doing well is also a good thing.
Ontario, 5-4, 4-2 in conference, is at Marion Pleasant, who's 8-2, 4-2. That's another one of those teams in the conference who's going to be right there at the end. Right. Cam, I would imagine you still got a whole bunch of friends on that Ontario team. I mean, is it are you always kind of scoreboard watching to see what those guys are up to?
Oh yeah, at the end of the day, those are my brothers. I mean, you grow up with them. You you've been to their house. You know everything about them. All their relationship status, what's going on in sports, what's going on in school, obviously, and your competitors, and you when you grow that bond with someone, it's there, obviously. And I remember taking my friend Jacoby to the basketball game, and it was so hard to talk to him because everyone I ran into, they were just like, "Oh, hey, I miss you, I miss seeing you guys, yeah, it's cool." And then calling out everyone's game on the basketball court, like, "Oh, I bet he pulls it here, he's gonna dribble left, pull up there." He did it all the time last year. But obviously, yeah, you cheer for them. Those are your boys, obviously, until I see them in January 22nd on the opposite court. Like, they're your boys until, you get on the same court and you're not wearing the same jersey. But it's definitely, it's weird, but it's fun. I'm always rooting for them, yeah.
Right on. Shelby, 7-4, 3-3, is at River Valley, who's struggling a bit. That Shelby team is, I don't think anybody wants to play that. You guys got a good look at them at the 419 Challenge. They were down 2 starters, and they gave you all they wanted.
Yeah, they did, definitely.
I mean, that's probably a team that nobody wants to play come a very good postseason tournament not too far down the road. I mean, I don't know if you've seen him, but, Troy Schwemley does a whale of a job over there.
And, and he's doing a good job with this team. And, sometimes of course, you never like to have injuries, and you never like to have things happen where your prime players are out of the lineup. But what happens in the second half of the season when you are, bringing things back together and some of those guys are coming back, you get rejuvenated. And what's happening now, they're pulling those guys back together. The injured guys are coming back, and I'm telling you, I really think Shelby is going to be a team to watch in the not just in the conference race, but in the postseason.
And that's and it's been like this for a few years now. But that Division II sectional district tournament is, it's if you win a district championship, you have earned it.
It'll be fun.
With Lex and Senior High and Clear Fork and Shelby, and that doesn't even include Norwalk, who might have the best individual player in the district and their point guard. I think Brandon Haraway, who's going to AU, his older brother's there now. That's for sports writers. It doesn't get any better than that tournament in February or late February or early March.
That is going to be must-see basketball, and I hate that they can't play that at Pete Henry like they used to, because I think that's one of the only gyms that could do it justice. But it's going to be must-see basketball, and the great thing about this time of year is all the things that have to happen in order for teams to, because seeding is going to be very important. So you're going to have to play your way to a safe place in that draw. So it's going to be fun to watch, and Shelby and those teams are going to be right there in the mix.
Right. Finally, before we take off, it's we'll do the Mid Buckeye Conference. Small schools in the area. St. Peter's 6-5, 3-1 is at Mansfield Christian, who's struggling a little bit this year. But St. Peter's, they lost to Lucas last week for the first time in a very long time. And talking to the kids from Lucas, they got a real good team down there. But talking to those guys, they thought that, without the Jared Jakubics and, Elijah Cobbs and those guys, that this was kind of the playing field had been leveled a little bit. And that's going to be an interesting conference chase here down these last few weeks.
Sure. And I saw the game last year with Elijah Cobb and Jakubic against Lucas, and that game was tough. Right. It was a tough game for him even last year, and you could feel the Lucas kids getting a lot more confidence against those teams, and now sometimes you get that year of experience and a year of confidence against a quote unquote bigger or better team, and they were ready to take the next step, and they have, and even Mansfield Christian. Now there's a more level playing field in that league, and those are the fun ones to watch.
Right.
Those small communities get together, and those gyms are usually packed.
Yeah.
Because those are fun games to watch.
And I'm sure it'll be like that at Loudonville. Lucas is 6-3 overall, 4-0 in the MBC. They're at Loudonville, who is in the MBC for basketball. Loudonville 7-4, 3-1. Probably not a lot of people know that, but and that gym down there is it's very tight. It's going to be closed quarters. That's what small school, high school basketball in Ohio is all about.
Love it. When anytime I get a chance to go to those games and just watch the games, I like I told you before, I always enjoy the environment, the atmosphere of those games, because the parents and the fans, they want so desperately for their teams to win. They have nothing but positivity, and they want those kids to win. And at the end, if they come up short, they pat them on the head and say, you'll get them next time. If they win, they celebrate with them. And that's what high school sports is all about. And I said it last week, bigger schools sometimes could learn a lot from those small communities about how to truly support your teams, because I see that all the time in those small schools.
Right. Well, on that, we will close it out for this week. Cam Todd from Mansfield Senior, we certainly appreciate you coming down. And,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And join us again next week on West 4th and Goal. West 4th and Goal is a part of the Richland Source Podcast Network and is produced and edited by Noah Jones. I'm your host, Curt Conrad, and on behalf of co-host Effie James, thanks for listening.